So excited to be back with you again on this eclectic, this dynamic broadcast from the Eagles View. This is your host with the most, Servant Fidel Donaldson, aka the Bald Eagle. From the Eagles View simply means from the Eagles' perspective, talking about the characteristics and attributes in one of the most magnificent creatures on God's creation, the eagle. When we think about the eagle, we think about vision, we think about strength, we think about focus, we think about fortitude. These dynamic characteristics and attributes ought to be displayed in the life of every child of God, right? All human beings, actually, but especially the children of God. And that's why it is such a privilege. That was so exciting that even Fido barked. I mean, that was exciting there. But I'm so honored to have back in studio with me. If you did not listen to the first podcast, catch the first broadcast from the previous one from the Eagles View, please go back, listen, view, and share it because the information was awesome and revolutionary. Back in studio with me is my friend, my mentor, my kingdom brother, founder of the greatest economic empowerment movement on the planet, bar none, the BYOB movement, standing for Be Your Own Bank, also the kingdom currency. Mr. Gerald D. Rogers, welcome back to From the Eagles View.
Hey, once again, I'm happy to be back. Obviously, I get an opportunity to hang out and share with you this view from the Eagles View. And listen, whatever you're doing, stop what you're doing, because when the man of God speaks, he's going to be dropping some nuggets that's going to alter, shift, and most importantly, empower you. So kudos to you as well.
Thank you, my brothers. Thank you. I humbly received that. Being connected to you, I just began to have some revolutionary ideas about what God expects us to do in terms of economics. Because you mentioned on the last podcast, or last show, that from Genesis to Revelation, I mean, there's one particular scripture that we went over before: "Occupy until I come,"
right?
Which in the Greek means trade, do business. There's another scripture you had mentioned. I think it was a New Living Translation.
Good news says.
Good news that almost had me. I bounced my bald head on the ceiling when we were, I think we might have been in a car or somewhere else.
We were traveling.
Quote that scripture for us, please.
Ecclesiastes 11:1 in the Good News Translation.
Good News Translation. Ecclesiastes 11:1, Good News Translation.
It says, if you invest in foreign trade, then you shall have a profit.
If you invest in foreign trade, then you shall have a profit.
Exactly.
And this foreign trade actually is what the $6.5 trillion.
Yeah, the foreign exchange.
Foreign exchange, commonly known as a Forex market.
Yes.
That's why, glory to God, this broadcast is so important. So that even the Bible encourages us to trade.
And so think about it from this perspective. Solomon.
Yes.
He never asked for riches.
He didn't.
He asked for wisdom.
Wow.
And because of the wisdom,
yeah,
he was able to attract all the resources necessary.
Because wisdom is priceless.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then you think about Solomon, the first global economist, right? Letting us know that wealth is a part of the heritage. It's part of the birthright. It's in the DNA.
Wow.
Right? To be wealthy.
And I like, biologically the term, the letters DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, the human genome, where we can map our family lineage. But when I was writing my book, actually, DNA, Who's Your Daddy?
Right.
The Lord gave me a different spin on it, which is the divine nature of Abba. And we talked at the beginning, actually, of the last podcast, the last broadcast, that according to Genesis 1, 26 to 28, he made us in his image, in his likeness. Mm-hmm. He blessed us and told us to be fruitful and multiply. So God's plan is for us to be blessed, for us to be fruitful, for us to multiply, for us to have dominion. But the vehicle to do it, it has been hidden in plain sight.
Exactly.
And we understand that the Be Your Own Bank movement is a vehicle. Now, you mentioned something during the last podcast that was just fascinating for me: faith and finance.
So faith and finance go hand in hand, and they're not inseparable. Specifically, if we who have named the name of Christ, then that means we should be operating as ambassadors of Christ, meaning that we should have the privilege and the authority to invoke God's will as a kingdom citizen. So when we think about it in the natural, someone who is an ambassador of a country, they go to another country and they occupy and invoke the citizenship on which the country they come from.
Wow.
So that's what being an ambassador of Christ represents. So let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, right? So we should be reflecting the harmony across the board, whether it's spiritual, whether it's physical, whether it's psychological, emotional, and most definitely financial. So that's the complete gospel.
So basically, are you saying that if individuals have not been disseminating the financial literacy and the importance of understanding kingdom finances here on earth, they have not been disseminating the gospel in its totality?
Absolutely, because when you think about it, let's think about our dear friend Nehemiah, right? He was the king's cupbearer, right? And what did he do? He was responsible for the livelihood of the decision maker, right? He was living in opulence. He was going to be, as the individual, doing well, but he had a burden from which the land that he come from.
Yes, he did.
Right? But he didn't have the resources.
That's true.
Right? But because of his position, he had the influence. So the sacred should always have influence over the secular.
Wow. Because when you look at the scriptures, I mean, the prophets, they always had a voice to the nations, to kings.
Right.
So that's, this information that you're giving right now concerning the faith and finance, and it's important. And I said it the last time, it's just crazy that we've not heard this taught more.
Right.
On radio, on television. I guess people have been too busy trying to tell people that they're cursed with a curse.
And that's
the time, Malachi.
Right.
99.9% of the time I've ever heard that book mentioned.
It's always taking versus giving.
Right. Bringing it into the storehouse, will a man rob God, you're cursed with a curse. Now, I'm not pro-con right now. That's not what I'm dealing with. But if we were to educate the people concerning kingdom finances, faith and finance, we would get way more in abundance than what we think.
Yeah, and there would be no cap because there's no limit in God.
Right? There certainly isn't. There might be $6.5 trillion floating around in the foreign exchange, but in the kingdom there is no limit. It's ad infinitum.
Exactly. And so when you think about it from that perspective, how is it and why is it that we have not introduced this realm, right? So then we go from the Old Testament, we have the king, we have the priest, and we have the prophet, right?
Right.
Culturally, in the 21st century church and this dichotomy, we've always put emphasis for the believer on the prophetic and the priestly, but we've never taught them the kingship.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? That's very important.
Because, unfortunately, we have kingdom citizens and we have empire builders.
Oh,
right.
Yes.
Those who want to build their empire, right? They don't want the people to excel beyond them.
That's scary,
right?
What?
And I this, I'm not being theological, but this is how God revealed it to me.
Yeah.
I would say it's the Nebuchadnezzar and the Lucifer spirit, right?
That's actually terrible because Yeshua said, "These works that I do, you shall do also, and greater works than these." And we know the gospel is free, but it takes resources to spread it.
It absolutely takes resources.
So basically, what you're saying is, individuals that have the influence and the platform, they more use it now to build and enrich themselves. Right. And we're not judging anybody, but we got to be realistic. 40% of people in the United States of America, the wealthiest nation, the most powerful nation on the planet, cannot put their hands on $1,000 in cash right now.
Right.
And even individuals who are living in nice communities are so up to their necks in debt, right, that they don't have the liquidity that they need to have. So it's a disservice not teaching people the biblical principles of kingdom finance, which is what be your own bank is rooted in. So this faith and finance component is absolutely important.
Right, and it's very important too, because one of the things that, even from a man's perspective,
Right.
one of the things that really led me personally to take this movement and give resources, Second Kings chapter 4.
I know exactly where you're going. That
So
widow.
many of us
Yeah.
have preached about the widow,
Right.
right?
And the oil.
And the oil,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But that was the effect.
Mm-hmm.
But what caused her to be a widow, right?
The
Verse 1.
The husband.
The
Yeah.
the man of God,
Yeah.
the preacher, the love of God.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he left his wife broke.
Wow.
Period.
Wow.
That's what happened.
Wow.
And what has happened? The woman was forced to operate in a role that she was not necessarily designed for.
Which you find a lot now
In today's society.
in today's society, especially in our community.
Yeah,
And when we say our community, we're talking about the Black community,
exactly.
where women have had to assume, and we bless God for their strength and their fortitude. Mothers and grandmothers, nothing like them, but to be plunged into a role where the man is MIA, missing in action. You can go all the way back to Genesis in the garden.
Right.
Whether he was there or not, he was silent
Exactly.
at a critical juncture. And we see the impact that it has. In
Tremendous impact, because
talk about
when you
that.
think about it, the widow woman had to go and provide for her sons.
Wow.
So the image translates to the sons
Right.
not being able to identify with what true fatherhood looks like.
Man, I think you just gave me a good segue to hold my book, Men Void of Light. Father, where are you? So fatherlessness, which is actually, Mr. Rogers, exactly what Malachi is all about. Right?
Exactly.
Not taking things out of context, but I will send you one in the spirit of Elijah, that shall return the hearts of the fathers back to the children, and vice versa, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. And we see some of this quote unquote curse in some of the inner cities, the gangbanging, because you have
absent.
fatherlessness. Hence, Father, where are you? I want you to, because we've touched on the faith and finance component. We've touched on the Forex industry, the $6.5 trillion industry, and the vision and mission of Be Your Own Bank to bring financial literacy. And I truly believe that God has mandated BYOB, the kingdom currency, as a vehicle, because you quoted out of Deuteronomy earlier, actually on the previous podcast. Behold, I give you power to get wealth, that my covenant may be established. The covenant is established, but the kingdom needs to be advanced, and it cannot be advanced without resources. That word power there, the word koach, Koach, actually means means. It also can be translated, I give you a vehicle.
Right.
In other words, the money's not going to fall out of the sky. And although paper is made from trees, we know that money does not grow on trees.
Right.
Hence, God will give a vehicle like Be Your Own Bank, right? Kingdom currency. Talk about the kingdom currency and some of its use cases and why it is a disruptor, even in the crypto space.
Well, listen, evolution is taking place. Things are always advancing. So we're definitely in that shift from fiat currency to digital currency, or programmable money.
Right.
That's what it is. We're all involved in digital currency. It's just we want to ensure that, particularly our listening audience, they're on the right side of this new evolution of currency. So right now, the digital currency market, $3.3 trillion. Okay, it's expected over the next 60 months to excel nearly to $40 trillion.
So it's 3.3
today,
trillion now,
as we speak.
and over the next
60 months,
that's a big jump.
projected to go to $40 trillion.
So people,
in addition to
the
$6.6 trillion that you now have access to as we speak. Right?
Why aren't we hearing this in our churches?
Well, because
it's a loaded question.
It's the same reason, but the kingdom currency, it has a dual purpose in me, right? So there's the use case for this particular currency, right? So yes, the broader market is digital currency. But why Kingdom currency? Well, you get an opportunity because this token actually has a purpose behind it. Right? So it's a token with a purpose. It is designed to ensure that HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, have permanent funding. Right? It also is to ensure that ministries and not-for-profits, organizations, have resources to continue the work that they've been called to. And here, particularly in the United States, the privilege that we often have, and sometimes, in my opinion, take for granted because of our military who sacrificed tremendously.
Right.
So we want to make sure that when they transition back into civilian life, their continuity continues. And that's the purpose of the Kingdom currency as well. And then as we evolve into the green space, solar energy, these are the opportunities that many of our communities never get an opportunity to be at the forefront of. So Kingdom currency is designed to dominate that space when it comes to digital currency.
So digital currency on a whole is, you said, I think you said, how much trillion?
$3 trillion.
And it's in the next 5 years, it's slated to go to?
40 trillion.
And when did Kingdom currency come up?
Kingdom currency has been out for the last 5.5 months. So
wait. Did you say 5.5 years?
5.5 months.
So truly, the opportunity to grow with the currency is
tremendous, because we're talking about education, we're talking about economic empowerment. One of the things that the purpose behind the movement also too is to help people understand there is different facets of the market, right? So you have the investment portion, right? Meaning that you grab hold of it, and as it grows in value, you get an opportunity to participate. And then there's also trade in the market. So we want to make sure that people get an opportunity to participate. However, the reason why digital currency and Kingdom currency is so important is because, once again, the rules say that you may need to be made aware that there's risk involved.
Right.
However, I'm going to also structure the rules where you can't participate because you don't have the liquidity necessary to participate.
Let us know when you mention it, because that's very important. Because individuals see a company like, Netflix, Amazon, Microsoft, they're launching. Are you saying that the masses and the IPO, the initial public offering, do not have access?
No, you don't have
Why?
access. You don't have access because the benchmark of entry is out of the average person's reach.
So you have to have access to a certain amount of finances.
Yeah, a certain amount of capital, right?
Right.
So the system is designed to keep people in and lock certain people out.
So the 95% that you referenced in our previous podcast broadcast, they're locked out.
They're locked out because the rules lock you out.
Oh, so in that particular instance, it's a little rigged.
Right.
In the sense that you have to have a certain amount of capital, so only a very small percentage.
Very small.
Very, very small.
That 5% that I made mention of initially, that's how it happens. So Be Your Own Bank movement is simply about helping people understand there are 3 types of people in the world. Those who are in the game, those who watch the game, and those who don't know the game is being played.
Come on, I love you. You got to say that again.
Those
3 types of people.
3 types of people in the world: those who are in the game, those who watch the game, and those who don't know the game is being played.
But the beautiful thing about it is, wherever you are on that strata, whatever strata you're on, part of the equation you are, BYOB and the Kingdom currency can help you to do even greater.
Exactly, and we're just teaching people how to play by the rules of the game, right?
Which have been hidden in plain sight.
Which have been hidden in plain sight for far too long.
I gotta mention this. Let them see your shirt. Please, if you have not done so yet, please download the BYOB app. Download it right now on your phone. Go into the app. You look at the About Us tab, and you'll see a 2-minute video that gives you a brief synopsis, and then you can contact Mr. Rogers on any of the social media platform. You can contact me, the Bald Eagle, under my name, Fidel Donaldson, all, because we want you to have access to this information. So basically with BYOB and the Kingdom currency, the 95% that have been locked out now, they have access to the information that the 5% have had since time immemorial.
Right, and it's very important because why is this dynamic so important? Because I want to make sure our audience really understands it's not about self-consumption, but there's a void in our communities, there's a void in our families, and there's a void in our ministries.
Wow.
Because this information has been hidden in plain sight. So now it's our responsibility, I truly believe, as a community, as a culture, and even in the body of Christ, where if anything that needs to be and should be addressed, it's our responsibility to address it. Homelessness.
You know, I would advise individuals who are listening, who are part of a ministry, to go to their pastor, their leader, to get Mr. Gerald E. Rogers to come in and educate on. He's been involved in this faith and finance movement. He's been in this the system. He knows the inner workings of the system. He sat with some of the individuals who make up the 5%. I would encourage you to bring him into the ministry, bring him on certain platforms, because the people, the masses, need to be educated, especially in our community.
And here's a wonderful thing about why this information is so important, because we are kings and priests.
Yes.
Right? And so there's a harmony that should take place. And understand that I'm personally here as a minister of the gospel myself, but God anointed me for business. Marketplace ministry specifically, because this is where our people spend most of their time.
Yes.
Right? In the marketplace,
yes.
Having impact. And people are getting this information, but they should be getting this information from the ministry, because we're the grand equalizer. Right.
We're supposed to be.
No, we are. I'm gonna speak that prophetically.
Right, yeah, I agree.
We are the grand equalizer.
I agree. But we need it to manifest.
Yes. So, and then there's a shift that needs to take place.
Right.
And we're talking about success. Commit thy works unto the Lord.
Yeah.
And then thy plan shall succeed. So, we had the privilege of being able to co-author a book entitled "Success on God's Terms." So
powerful. Success on God's terms.
Yes.
How can they get a copy of that?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, whatever your most favorite outlet is to purchase books.
Yeah.
We're there.
Success on God's terms is all. Two things I want you to touch on. How long does the dollar stay in the black community compared to other communities? And in terms of spending power, where do blacks rank? This is something that we've discussed a lot.
So traditionally speaking, the U.S. dollar normally circulates in our community. Out of every $10 that's spent, it only remains in your community. One of those dollars only remains.
That's it?
That's it.
1 out of 10.
1 out of 10. Right?
So if it's not in our community, where's it going?
It's circulating in other communities.
Other people's
right.
communities.
And then,
so it's building other people's communities.
And their livelihood.
Wow.
As well. And then the converse of that is, even from a business standpoint, those dollars, right, those different cultures, they're in our communities.
But they don't live there.
They don't live there. Right?
They're doing commerce there.
So they have the opportunity
right.
to extract,
yeah.
right, and then go and excavate the land which they come from.
Wow.
Right, to build up.
And do you think a lot of that is because we seem primarily to be more consumers than distributors?
We're being consumers, but I truly believe that, we're here in the Bible Belt, right? But I think about even when the children of Israel were in bondage, they were in Egypt.
Yes.
Goshen still flourished.
Yes, they were in the best part.
Right.
Goshen, yeah, absolutely. Because they were there.
But when I look at most cities,
yeah.
right, particularly those who have what we would call the inner city, why are those cities in such blight when there are churches and ministries on every corner?
Please tell us.
Because we are not preaching kingdom.
So if the wrong
we're preaching membership.
If the wrong and not discipleship. So if the wrong information is being disseminated,
then what we're creating is mutants.
Oh my God, mutants.
Yes.
Wow. So with this $6.5 trillion industry, the forex industry, kingdom currency, and BYOB as the BO Bank as the vehicle, financial literacy, the education component, That means, and look, we just talked plain on from the Eagles' view. We understand that white flight in certain communities or businesses in certain communities, how they're impacted when these businesses go overseas to whatever countries they go over for greater profits, paying the citizens of those countries less wages. And then obviously, poverty is a breeding ground of crime.
Right.
So if we can educate, especially the young people, bring this kind of financial literacy to them, then they will operate in a $6.5 trillion industry and start their own businesses in their own community. You said one out of 10 black dollars stay in the community.
Right.
Where do we rank in terms of spending power as a people?
Well, as a people, we are the 9th largest nation.
Wait. Nation. So wait a minute. Our spending power outranks the spending power of many nations?
Yes, we're the 9th largest spending nation in the entire world. And here's the travesty behind what I'm saying, because you made mention of being a consumer. Oftentimes, when it comes to this level of information, right, and sharing how you can become empowered,
right,
we psychologically, because of our indoctrinational system, we immediately reject this information. However, when it comes to consuming big screen TVs,
wow,
Xboxes, PlayStations, right?
Right.
We have no problem with running. And then for the body, when it comes to this information, right, we have to pray about it, right? Well, I've never seen anyone pray about purchasing those big screen TVs.
Wow.
I've never seen anyone have a family meeting about purchasing Michael Kors purses.
Wow.
Right? But we get deep.
Yeah.
And then we utilize our lack of understanding as a tool to reject information. It kind of reminds me of when Peter was incarcerated and they were having a prayer meeting praying that Peter would get out of jail.
Right.
And then the very thing that they were praying for knocked on the door.
And they wouldn't open. Wow.
Right? So there's a dual role that has to take place. And that stronghold has to be destroyed. And that's also, in addition to what we're doing, the Be Here and Make movement is responsible for.
So there's going to have to be a mindset change.
No doubt.
Because obviously, we've been indoctrinated, we've been conditioned to think a certain way. Our modus operandi, the way we operate, has been on a traditional model that we can safely say has not benefited not just black folks, right? Because poverty is not
it's not color.
Really, it's not color.
Right.
Yeah. It's not. So we have to find a way to get this information, and that's why I'm so honored to have you on the podcast, on the broadcast today, because I'm sure our listeners are hearing some information that's revolutionary, but it's a system that's been tried and proven. As previously stated, you've been in the industry of finance, banking for many years. You've sat, you've coached, you've mentored some of the top individuals. So we definitely want the individuals who are getting this information to understand, because it's going to get a lot darker before it gets better.
Right.
And don't listen to the prognosticators of these networks that are, scaring folks into thinking the economy. Because I believe you were on with one of my family members, and they were talking, about stuff, and we were saying, well, the people who control the supply chains, right? All they do is jack up the prices.
Exactly.
They're not going to take losses.
No.
Yeah, raise food prices, give you less portion, right? Raise gas prices, because more millionaires were made during the Great Depression in the United States of America than any other time in the nation's history leading up to that period. Right.
And to add to that, even more was created during the pandemic.
As a matter of fact, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, I believe, became a billionaire in the pandemic. Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla, SpaceX, he surpassed Jeff Bezos, the leader of Amazon, as the richest man in the world. All this happened in the pandemic. And the interesting thing about it is, so much stimulus money was given to folks.
Right.
They had the opportunity, but they did not have the information.
Right.
And which is what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Most of that money is spent now. If it could have been invested, say in the kingdom currency.
Right.
And I know our listeners are saying right now, well, how can I get this currency? Well, you can reach out to the Bald Eagle, Fidel Donaldson, on social media. Get in contact with me, and we'll get you plugged in because your chief financial officer. What is the projection for the token? What is the price of the token?
Right now, the token is at 6.5 cents.
Wait. Did you just say 6.5 cents?
6.5 cents. So
Wow.
there's nobody in our listening audience, right? We made it that you can participate and grow with us.
And what's the projection? And what's the time frame?
Over the next 36 months, we know and believe that our token is going to go from 6.5 cents individually to each token will be worth $300 over the next 36 months.
That's going to be a great revenue stream of wealth for the individuals who take advantage of this opportunity ASAP, expeditiously.
And one thing I want to make sure that our listening audience is completely aware of, right? The wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just, but the just has to get up and go where the wealth is.
That's good because the wicked sure ain't gonna bring it to you.
Right.
If anything, they're gonna be trying to get with a little that you have. Mr. Geraldine Rogers, it's not your last time on the broadcast. We're excited. I'm expecting individuals listening to us to get in contact with us concerning BYOB. Make sure you download the BYOB app. Make sure you contact us for more information. And remember, contact me about getting your copy. We're going into the holiday season to get your copy of Men Void of Life, Father, Where Are You? It is doing phenomenal things. Every man needs a copy of this. Every woman needs to make sure that the men connected to her has a copy of this book. Once again, thank you for joining us on From the Eagle's View, where we talk about vision, focus, fortitude, and strength. God bless you.